Hello, everybody, and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. How is everyone doing this evening? Happy and blessed Monday, and welcome back to the Welcome to Asgard podcast. Tonight, episode 573 of the Welcome to Asgard podcast. And tonight, we're going to be talking about Peacemaker. Oh my goodness, Peacemaker. So I was not a fan of the first season of the show. I guess you could say it was decent to bogus in some of the episodes. But overall, nothing really special. Felt like it was a waste of my time, honestly. And then season 2 decided to come around and say, "I'll hold my beer." And it's amazing to me how many people are defending the show, and not just the show, but specifically the complete moral degeneracy featured in this show, specifically in this episode of the show. And I feel like, especially since I feel like some of them are of the same mindset who went after Netflix for hosting something like Cuties, to go on and then say, well, how can you judge an entire thing by one little thing? Okay, well, same logic here. It honestly, to me, is bewildering. It's baffling in many respects. So we're going to talk, unfortunately, about it. Yes, indeed, Laura. Yes, indeed, using that criticalist lingo. I still have it. Members are, for some reason, auto, unless I have a specific one highlighted, it just auto pulls up those messages. I still need to fix that, but again, I don't mind it since it is my members. But if you're wondering why I'm not reading those specific comments, because right now it is set on auto. But before we go any further, please make sure you smash that like button, light up that fire button. What am I saying? We haven't been on Odyssey in a long time. Smash the rumble button as well. And let's go ahead and say hello to the people in the chat. So we got Snorterpoopus Cuba, who is here, saying, hello, humans and other quitters. What's going on with Snorterpoopus? We also got him saying, hello. How's it going, Snorterpoopus? We got Wendy Hunter. Wendy! What's going on, Wendy? Saying hello to the chat as well. We got Kimberly G. Killian Shadowcat. What is going on, Kimberly G? Thank you for being a member here on the channel as well. We got Jeremy Sikowski hanging out. What's going on? Saying, evening, and everyone on here. I won't be attending Christmas party, if you know what I mean. Yes. Unfortunately, I know exactly what you mean. Laura hanging out in the chat as well, saying hello. Hello to you, Laura. Thanks for being here. Let me go ahead and pull these windows up real quick. And now we're back into the chat. Laura then going on to say, oh no, I hope Peacemaker was at FNT homework. It sounds horrendous. Oh, yes, it was. We talked all about that first episode most recently on Friday Night Tights. And unfortunately, yeah, we have to watch the rest of the show. And when you even have, the guys on the panel that we have that don't get bothered by that kind of stuff nearly as much as like I do or Shad does, especially because of our, religious convictions, that says a lot. That says a lot about just how bad the show is. Because it's not like there's just a bunch of us who are, quote, Christian fundamentalists or anything like that going after the show, right? There's several people of various faith denominations, some of even maybe no faith background, who are all just collectively coming together to say, you know what? This show just isn't even well written. Even take the moral degradation out of the equation, and it's just not well written. And it's just, again, reminding me that there are, it seems, a certain segment of that fan base, whether it's the DC fan base, whether it's the gun nuts, whether it's whatever remnants of the DCEU fan base that there might be as well, that just will defend anything that comes out. It's honestly reminiscent of certain political ideologies where people, in some cases cannot criticize anything related to their specific political party or their specific political candidate. And I think that you're now seeing that same type of movement. You're seeing that same kind of almost politicization in a lot of ways of even certain fandoms where, because you have been a fan of something in the past, you for some reason have it in your head that you either can't criticize anything that comes out or that you just feel obligated to defend it. And it's amazing because usually the defense that we hear is, well, what about the MCU or what about this or that? It's like, look, I think they're all terrible. I think you can easily criticize any of these things. But I will at least give the MCU credit. As bad as shows, or I will at least give Disney some credit here. As bad as their Disney Plus shows have been, as bad as The Acolyte was in the case of Star Wars, they've still never done what was done on Peacemaker. And that says a lot. That says quite a bit. But anyway, we got Justin C. And by the way, Laura is the Model Major General of the channel. Thank you again for being here. All out of sorts because our upstairs, so we have a house that at one point was a split-level Airbnb. And so it's got 2 air conditioning units, one that takes care of the top floor, one that takes care of the bottom floor. Our top floor one went out, or at the very least, it looks like it froze over. As best we can tell, and we can't get somebody out to fix it until tomorrow. So luckily, baby girl who's up there, she has a fan in her room, so she'll be okay. And then a baby boy toddler Thor, little Thor, I guess I can call him at this point, he's downstairs with me, and so he's got the nice air conditioning still going on for him. So, but I would not be surprised if my wife ultimately decides either to go to our room where she can at least have a fan on in there, or potentially even come downstairs because there is a TV out there. But it is sometimes maybe not the best case because we don't want the TV to be too loud to possibly wake up baby Thor. All right, we got Laura here. Oh, what am I saying? I didn't even get to Justin C. Justin C saying, evening all. Guessing theaters and the box office will be slow until Tron Ares. I'm looking forward to the Black Phone too, though I worry it may not be as good considering sequels in general. Yeah, it is interesting to see the direction they're going to go with Black Phone 2. Because I actually did like the first Black Phone. I thought it was actually a lot better than it had any right to be. A lot better than any of the trailers really indicated. So it kind of makes sense that they would have greenlit a sequel, but just because your film is good and just because you might be able to continue the story doesn't necessarily mean you should. And that's what, as you mentioned, right, most sequels tend to learn that lesson the hard way. But I mean, unfortunately, that is kind of going to be the case for much of the year. I mean, as far as big money, even Tron Ares isn't going to be the biggest release of the year. It might be one of the bigger ones still left on the docket for Disney, but having forgotten when Tron Ares even comes out, let me go ahead and let's go ahead and pull this up. Let's go ahead and pull up the, what am I doing? There we go. Okay, unfortunately, I'll put Keely Chow's comment there because otherwise it will start to auto-load comments and I can't control that. Okay, so the question, though, from Justin C. was about the box office. Again, is it going to be slow all the way up until Tron Ares? So let's just look ahead and see what we have coming up. So first, August 29th, so this coming weekend, we've got Caught Stealing, The Roses, and The Toxic Avenger unrated. Nothing big from those listed. Then we've got The Conjuring Last Rites. That will probably do okay. Conjuring has a dedicated audience. Horror films are the only genre that is doing much of anything these days. So I think Conjuring Last Rites will probably do decent. But even though they've been good box office because of the budget specifically being as low as they are, and in some cases they've actually run away with it, like Weapons, great example of having a really good box office in addition to having a pretty low budget to boot. Who knows? Maybe this is being implicated as like the last of the Conjuring movies with it being called Last Rites. Who knows? So maybe that will increase its audience size, but it's still going to be limited. I mean, it's still not going to be a massive $100 million opener or anything like that, right? So even if there is money there, it's not going to be huge. Hamilton, wide re-release from Disney. You're going to have some musical theater and maybe some Hamilton fans that will be out there. Can't imagine, though, that's going to make much of a splash. The Legend of High 2 from G-Kids. Again, there's always dedicated anime fans out there that will show up, but nothing crazy. Light of the World, Twinless, and Splitsville. Again, all small or movies that I'm not even recognizing their names of. Demon Slayer, that is one that has probably the most potential as far as upcoming like anime type movies, but still not going to be that big. Downton Abbey, the grand finale, that's going to bring the old people out there. But as we all know, the old people who used to go see these films in droves aren't really watching them the same way anymore. So don't be surprised if Downton Abbey might get top 3 that weekend, but it's not going to do the kind of money that previous Downton films, especially like the first one that they put out in theaters, did, because that audience has just disappeared in many respects. There's then The Long Walk, which I feel like I have seen a trailer for. Let me see if I can pull up the... Yeah, this is the Stephen King one, and yeah, it just like, I don't know. J.T. Molnar is in the movie, and I think he was involved with, in fact, is he the director on this one? Let's see, cast and crew. Screenwriter, J.T. Molnar. Gotcha. Because I was going to say, yeah, he was Strange Darling. He was the director and screenwriter of Strange Darling. That's why. Strange Darling was fantastic. That was an amazing movie. Not for everyone, definitely for adult audiences, but still. So, again, he's a screenwriter. I'm interested. It's obviously an adaptation, though, of a Stephen King novel, and so you got to take that with a grain of salt. You do have Mark Hamill in the movie, so, again, that will probably drive some people away as well. Not going to make money, though. Not going to be a big money maker, right? A re-release of Toy Story, that's interesting. Spinal Tap 2, that's one I'm actually looking forward to from Bleecker Street. You could actually end up having that be kind of a surprise, kind of in the K-pop Demon Hunters way, where that film made like $19 million this weekend and it wasn't really expecting to do anything. It's kind of like a surprise, came out of nowhere. People didn't know how much exactly it was going to make. Apparently Netflix is also refusing to fully commit to reporting how much money it made, so we'll see about that. Spinal Tattoo, that's probably the one I'm now looking forward to the most because the trailer is actually really, really good. It actually looks like they're returning to their roots, and it's going to be an actual good, potential follow-up. All the actors that are involved are fantastic. Again, do we need to have this? Is this the best idea? Probably not, but I do like Spinal Tap. So this could be good. The End Continues, also great name as well. Moving on from there, Big Bold Beautiful Journey. Sure. Him, that is, I believe, the next, the next Jordan Peele release. It's produced by Jordan Peele, so not directed or written by Jordan Peele, but produced by him. Yeah. So they're putting his name on it, but because it's not being made by him, that's probably not going to make as big numbers. Interesting concept about football players, kind of going through a machine, as it were. Just like anything related to Jordan Peele, though, has those racial undertones, so probably going to keep some audiences away. Other names of things, The Senior from Angel Studios. Again, Angel Studios has not done a whole lot recently. Gabby's Dollhouse, One Battle After Another, Strangers Chapter 2. Strangers Chapter 1 didn't do much of anything, surprisingly. I mean, not surprising because the film wasn't that great from what I heard, but then you got Bone Lake, Casper, wide re-release. Again, a lot of re-releases. This is kind of, I think, the story of what the current box office is. Things are so bad right now. Things are so atrocious for so many studios, and we're going to have such a dry season that they are now putting out re-releases of ancient movies. And then October 10th is when's Tron Ares. So yeah, I would say Tron Ares probably has the most potential to at least have a somewhat decent opening. But it's hard for me to see that film doing a whole lot. It's hard for me to see that. Let me see if I know that sometimes Box Office Theory, Box Office Theory has long-term tracking on some things. So let's see, that's his 6 weeks box office. Some of it's behind a paywall now, so it looks like this is not. So let's see. Conjuring Last Rites, he has $32 to $39 million, so that's going to be, I guess, the next big release comparatively. Demon Slayer, he has at 38 to 56. That's actually pretty surprising numbers there. Let's see, him 20 to 30 million, probably being a little bit too bold there. And he then does not have any other films listed. So it's still a little too far out to get anything related to that. But anyway, so yeah, Tron Ares might be, but it's not a guarantee much of anything, right? Just like nothing these days seems to be that much of a guarantee these days. Jimmy A, what's going on? Saying, hail chat and the #1 Meg 2 fan, Odin. Again, I wouldn't go that far. I had fun with it, but Kaylee Chow saying, "Hail Odin, how are you, Thor, Freya, Baby Sip doing? Also, how was your weekend? Everyone's doing okay, except for Baby Girl, because it's not going to be as cool as it normally is. But we took precautions." Justin C. saying Peacemaker is a 180 following Superman would be a vast understatement. Yeah. And that's to me the huge head scratcher, right? Because, again, you're going to hear something very, very different from the gun nuts and from people who are just becoming apologists, it seems, for anything that DC puts out there. But the fact is that they were pushing Peacemaker in the marketing as being if you want to know what the current state of the DCU is, if you want to know what's going to happen going forward, if you want to have the next piece of the puzzle and kind of going to lay some of the groundwork for the future, it's Peacemaker. And whether you're going to say it's officially from them or the perception, the fact is that they created the perception. They allowed that perception to go out there, and they didn't correct it. And so the fact is that they were pushing a lot of people towards this. Again, you can say, oh, they had the ratings and it's clearly for adults. Sure. But their movie was only, quote, as successful as it was because of families, because of kids enjoying the film. And even then, right, I wouldn't bring my kids to see Superman. I'm sorry. And I know that some people are like, oh, how dare you? It's like, I'm sorry, but why should again, when we say kids, right, we're talking under 10. I don't think under 10-year-olds should be seeing Superman. Not James Gunn's Superman. Because I don't want them being exposed to middle fingers. And again, mild language, but still, language enough. And again, this would also go for any MCU films that have the same thing. Because there are a few MCU films that even have some language in there that I wouldn't want them to be exposed to either. But especially the little ones. And so that's already kind of like your first indication. It's like, okay, you're making a film marketing towards kids and, okay. And then, yes, Peacemaker clearly is made for adults, but even then I would say that's a bit kind, because I would say not even just adult children. I would just say adult degenerates. It's really is honestly what the show seems to be made for. And obviously, of course, the big story with the show is the fact that there is this very long, excessively long, quote, sex scene involving multiple people. I'm going to try and watch my language here. I'm talking about this. And there is full frontal nudity of all kinds, especially a lot of full frontal male nudity. And that alone means I cannot recommend this to anybody, because I cannot make or suggest that anyone subject themselves to any amount of imagery related to that crap. Wish I had known about this beforehand. And luckily I was able to look elsewhere on the screen as things were going on. But no, I don't think it's wise for anyone to subject themselves to that kind of debauchery, to that kind of moral negligence. And the fact remains that someone had to come up with that idea. Someone had to say, you know what would be great to have in this show? This. Something that is completely unnecessary, does nothing for the plot, does nothing for the actual story itself, but it's just there. That's all James Gunn. That's from the mind of James Gunn. That's what's clearly going on in his mind. That's what he wants to see on screen. It says a lot about him. And it's for that and many other reasons that I just cannot support his vision at all in this or anything else going forward, because clearly he's just messed up. And we kind of got a glimpse of this already. If y'all remember back on Twitter, back when it was still Twitter, and he had made some very inappropriate jokes. And the argument in defense was, but they were jokes, man. Oh, you mean the same jokes that Destiny is making about children? I feel like a lot of the same people that would probably go after Destiny probably were defending, or at least willing to defend, someone like James Gunn. And yet the jokes are very similar in essence. There's a line, all right? I think that we could all agree that there's an objectively moral line that you just cannot cross. And children is again, a pretty easy line to hold there, right? So I already knew that he had that level of degeneracy within him, right? We've known this about him for a very long time. So it's not surprising to see this kind of stuff in there. But this is your next phase of the DCU. This is your, this is how we're going to explain the whole multiverse stuff, how we're going to establish it. And you can say, well, it's not going to be necessary to understand it. Oh, but they're going to have movies that explain it. We don't really know that yet. We do not know that for sure, because James Gunn has made clear he doesn't even really know what he's doing going forward. Is it that he's only doing the movies that have finished scripts going forward? Because that seems to be the indication right now is, well, hey, whenever the scripts are finished, those are the ones that we're doing first. Okay. Sounds great on paper because, yeah, you're doing completed stories, but that also means it's going to be coming in whatever order that happens in. He's then changed his mind 1,000 times. He's clearly lied or misspoken, whatever it is that you want to say. And so all that we're left with then is, are we actually going to get something so that you don't have to watch Peacemaker? Or are they going to then go forward and then say, by the way, if you want to catch up with everything, go check out Peacemaker? We don't know that for sure yet. We really don't. We don't even really know what the next movie's going to be. This is the nonsense that we're dealing with. And it's sad that people are defending it. Forever Sci-Fi, hail to you, good sir. Thanks for being a member here on the channel. We got Mr. Roy, who's a member, saying hello. What's going on, Mr. Roy? Thank you very much for being here. Let's see. Michael Brigette, what's going on, Michael? Saying, hey, Odin, Arrow Video is releasing a 4K box set of the 90s live-action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle films in November. That is something you're interested in? Ooh, yeah. That sounds great. I love the live-action ones. Arrow Video is also a very, very good distribution for physical media. So if things work out well with YouTube finances, that could definitely be something I'd be interested in getting. Best would be if I could actually get two, so that way I can give one away to my Keeper of the Bifrost members and above. Jenna Wingster, what's going on? Wendy Hunter. Wendy, thank you very much for being a member for 14 months here on the channel. 14 months in a row. Wendy Hunter, thank you again. You're awesome. Jenna Wingster, so you really are Snyder Bro. I knew it all along. Ah, yes. Yes, I, Odin, who has very clearly hated everything that's come out from from Zack Snyder. Even going so far, like, my dislike of Zack Snyder has also impacted the way I view all of his movies. And it's not that, I just can't stand him, and so now I hate his movies that I used to like. It's more of if I actually rewatched your older films in hindsight with the knowledge of your film techniques that just never evolved, never changed, remain very consistent, it now makes me look and say, oh, I didn't realize how much slow-mo you actually used in 300. Oh, I didn't realize how much of this was in this movie or that movie. So, yeah, I'm clearly a Snyder Bro. Clearly a Snyder Bro. Yes, indeed, Laura, using the Criticalist lingo. Sahil99, looking forward to the stream. Going to watch F1 in IMAX again tomorrow. Nice. I don't want to watch it on 4K in a few months and hate myself for only watching it once in theaters like Maverick. Well, hey, again, if you can't make that, that's okay. There are more important things in life. But still, if you have the time, that's an awesome experience. Definitely would be interested in checking that out if a time ever worked out. But that sounds fantastic. Wendy Hunter saying, that sounds horrible. I'm glad I tuned in to know not to watch it. Yeah, definitely stay away from it. And again, you're going to hear every excuse in the book. You're going to hear a bunch of people saying, well, it's just a small part of the show. It's like, I'm sorry, but I didn't have my timer out, but it's about like 3 to 5 minutes. And for that kind of a scene, that is excessively long. Because you think about how much any length of time in a show or a movie takes in actual like filming time, the fact that they probably had multiple takes, that's just, again, it's disgusting. Frank G says, hey, Odin, have you seen the cinematic masterpiece that is War of the Worlds 2025 on Amazon Prime? No, but I really kind of want to now because, I mean, Critical Drinker, I think, now has talked about it and a bunch of others. I've heard phenomenal things in the worst way. J.S. Pena saying, please check out Primitive War. It wasn't great, but way better than Jurassic World Rebirth. I heard it was great, J.S. Pena. I was listening to Film Threat give their review, and they said it was a ton of fun. Like dinosaurs and the Vietnam War, essentially, is like the pitch. Sounds fun to me. Unfortunately, it's like a Fathom event, limited release. So really hoping it gets available soon. so that way I can check it out. Excuse me. Let's see. Kimberly G saying, I prefer hearing FNT tear Peacemaker apart than ever watching it myself. Sounds degenerate. It is indeed. Gary Banjo Sandwich Worthington saying, hello, Peacemaker sucked. DCU is dead. Shot by a gun. Yes, absolutely. Right, again, this is your next step and your next phase in the DCU. This is your follow-up to Superman. And again, Superman was already on pretty shaky ground. No matter what anyone tries to sell you or say, Superman was not a home run. It was not a knock it out of the park like it needed to be. As of right now, the film theatrically has still not made its money back. And that's just based off of the numbers they've given us, let alone what the actual spending might have been, which could actually be a lot higher. We honestly don't know. But just on the numbers alone that they gave us, it still has not made its money back, at least theatrically. And I've been very clear saying I think that it will eventually make its money back, but it's clearly not the big money maker that they were probably hoping and expecting it to be. And so, yeah, for your follow-up to be Peacemaker on HBO Max, and it goes hard R, I mean, in many ways, that scene could make a lot of episodes of Game of Thrones blush. That's how messed up that whole sequence was. As far as like the actual sexual content. Crazy. Just with, again, the graphic nature. Thanatos Felicitas. Hello, Odin. Hello, Thanatos at 737. Forever Sci-Fi saying, I have no hope for Tron Ares. The Grid was a character in Legacy, and you lose that, bring it into the real world. There you go. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously niche, right? Not everyone likes Tron. The trailers, I think, have been good, or at least intriguing. So they might be able to bring out some people just from the marketing alone, but yeah. Jeremy Zakowski, Demon Slayer is a really good series. Yeah, I mean, it's also done very well box office-wise. I remember it was during, I think, the pandemic that there was a Demon Slayer film that came out and actually surprised a lot. All right, Guy, or as I like to call him, Guy, actually saying hi first. What's going on, Guy? Saying, how are you doing? Do you think the next Tron movie will do well in the box office? I think it won't do well since Jared Leto is in the film. I mean, I think that the whole Jared Leto as box office poison thing is a bit ridiculous because it's not Jared Leto. It's the movies he's in that are the problem, all right? If Jared Leto was not in Morbius, I don't think that would have impacted the box office all that much, right? Morbius did that all on its own. But yeah, I don't think it's going to do as well. I don't, based off of the early indications. So we'll have to wait and see what the early box office tracking looks like. Obviously, a lot of things can change between now and then. Still way too early to call that one, but I wouldn't be surprised, especially with everything trending downward these days. Myra Baguette saying, I'm really looking forward to a big, bold, beautiful journey. Margot Robbie and Colin Farrell star. Director was same as After Yang. Trailer got me interested. I don't know the film After Yang. So, glad to hear you're excited for it, though. Wendy Hunter saying, do you think the studios are going for those member berries? A lot of the studios are, for sure. And that's the reason why I would not sleep on a film like the next Avengers movie. Not because I think it's going to be any good. I think the opposite. I think it's probably going to be pretty trash because that's been the standard that the MCU has put forward recently. But they're spending, and I think I've covered this before, if you look at the contract or the deals that's been reported for Robert Downey Jr. for 2 movies, and then the directors of the 2 movies, and you look at those deals, I want to say between both of them, you're looking at well over $100 million per movie just for the directors and for Robert Downey Jr. Like well over $100 million per movie. So your budget's already at $100 million for 3 people, and that's not including some of the other big names you have. So this is a film that's probably going to cost well north of $400 million production budget. This could be one of the most expensive films, actually, that they've ever made. If anyone knows how to overspend on anything, it's Disney. And so, because of that, the film, I think, is going to already have a starting point. It's almost like kind of a weird example, but you know how in the Olympics, especially like in like gymnastics, They have like starting values, right? So if your routine is more complex, you have a higher start value, so that even if you make mistakes and mess up, you still end up having a high score because of that. It's kind of how I feel about these movies that have like these gigantic budgets, right? You're already going to get a guaranteed amount of money because of how much you're putting into it. It's just like the natural byproduct, right? Because you're spending so much. And when you have those many names, you're more likely to appeal to like smaller groups of people that collectively make up a larger audience. But even if the film then makes $1 billion, because of how much it's likely going to cost, it's still going to lose money. So I think that not only could we see it be one of the most expensive MCU films ever, not only could we possibly even see it be like one of the best performing MCU films ever, possibly making over $1 billion, right? Not since Deadpool and Wolverine would that have been the case. But it could also end up being one of the biggest films to then also go on to lose money. Right now, I think Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker is one of the biggest examples because it lost about $100 million even though it made $1 billion at the box office. And that's because of budget. Let's see, Jimmy A. Had to say, does Roofman have potential to be a surprise hit? Channing Tatum is pretty good at the box office. The story is interesting, and the budget probably isn't super high. He's not a guarantee at the box office, though, okay? That's the thing. I want to say it was it the most recent? So, Magic Mike, right, obviously is kind of a franchise that he is known for. I want to say the last film that came out didn't do anything at the box office, if memory serves. Oh, yeah. So, I don't know where you heard that from. Like, yeah, he's not box office. I'm sorry. Like, and that's the thing. Most actors these days are not box office. Even Tom Cruise is not box office. Tom Cruise in specific movies can be box office. Case in point, Top Gun Maverick. But then look at the film The Mummy. He's in that movie. He's all over that film, and that film was a flop. That film was awful. But Magic Mike, Channing Tatum. The first film made $170 million. These are unadjusted numbers. So it went from 170 for the first film, 123 for the second film, and the third film in 2023 made only $57 million. So no, he's not box office. So I would have to say, knowing very little about the film that you mentioned, no, I don't think it has potential just because he's in it. Let's see, Geek64 saying, I love Tron Legacy, but I'm pretty lukewarm on Tron Ares. Ditching Tron Legacy characters isn't great, and I'm not a big fan of Leto. I think a lot of people feel the same way, Geek Truth, by the way. Thanks for being here, man. Shout out to you, good sir. Jimmy A saying, now I'm starting to think far from the twisted mind of James Gunn was an understatement. Yeah, seriously. It's like, no, his mind's actually pretty darn twisted. Let's see, Gee saying, did you not watch Happen in season 1 when he did it with an alien? The TV MA HBO, you would always see nudity in at least one episode. Bro, spare me the defense. Because there's nudity in an episode, and then there is that scene. Not comparable at all. And again, it's not saying I'm surprised by it. I'm actually more so surprised at just how far it went, how long the scene went for, and also the fact that they, again, had a direct connection with Superman with this movie. Like, the fact that he was talking about this movie as much as he was in connection with his conversations about Superman. That's where the surprise. But again, I say it in a very casual way because, like, I'm honestly not that surprised because of what we already know about him. The Morak, happy Monday. Happy Monday to you as well. Thank you for being here. Shorty Short saying, I don't think we've had a stream in 3 years for Snyder's name hasn't been where Snyder's name hasn't been mentioned. I mean, it always comes up at some point. And it's always negative for me. Geek Truth saying, the Arrow Turtles 4K trilogy has an Arrow exclusive box art option, and the first film is a 4K scan from the original 35mm. Really looking forward to it. Nice. I guess my question would then be, well, why aren't the other films also scans of the original prints? Sacre Bleu, the deadly poke of Zorro. What's going on, Sacre Bleu? Saying, hello, Odin James, get in my van gun. Oh, goodness. Luring unsuspected children into watching Peacemaker is completely on brand for him, in my opinion. And again, I will defend him in the way where he never exclusively comes out and says, like, yes, children, come watch my show. But when you have Superman, which is a big family hit, I don't think it's family friendly, but it's a big family hit, and then they're making those connections. I'm sorry, like Xvoot. What's going on, Xvoot? Saying, curious if you were a fan of Curb Your Enthusiasm. So my wife and I tried watching the show, and there were definitely episodes that we liked. And then there was, like, kind of similar to the discussion we're having here. There's this one episode where he gets caught watching, like, pornography. And that was one where it's like, I understand what they were trying to do, but then they also, like, got to see it. And I'm like, ugh. Like, yeah. It's also the episode that kind of made us go, yeah, I don't know if we want to watch anymore. Oh, because there are definitely some funny things in there for sure. Thanos Felicita saying, James Gunn is the reason that I won't watch DC movies. I don't blame you. Steven, my friend, how's the fall semester going so far? Since last week? Still going just fine, man. All right, Steven saying, do you think we will be seeing more Netflix original releases more in theaters due to the success with Pop Demon Hunters? So, yeah, obviously this is a big talking point from this past weekend, right? Because of the success of K-pop Demon Hunters. We'll go ahead and pull that up on the screen, and we'll talk about we'll talk about a little box office. Okay, so y'all know what time it is.
Time to see a real math magician at work.
That's right. It's time, everybody, for a little bit of math. And time to see a real math magician at work. So we have up here the weekend box office chart. And so it's actually been adjusted. So the initial estimates going into the weekend for K-pop Demon Hunters was about $18 million. Now that was up about $3 million from the original estimates from like Deadline and the trades, who said $15 million was likely. So the film did even better than anyone could have expected. As I mentioned earlier, there was an article going around saying that apparently Netflix is not wanting to actually report those numbers. Let's pull up the Deadline box office here. Yeah. So from Tony, good old Tony at Deadline, y'all know how much I love him, says here, K-pop Demon Hunters delivers Netflix's first #1 box office win with 19+ million, but streamer doesn't want to officially report. Sources tell Deadline that it has made 19.2 million over Saturday and Sunday. Note that rival studios are all over the map still on estimating this, but that's where we are seeing the anime movie from directors Maggie Kang and Chris Applehans after a $10.1 million Saturday and a $9.1 million Sunday. So I don't think this actually had any Friday showing. So the fact that it made $20 million, roughly $20 million in 2 days with very limited release is very impressive. Very, very impressive. Netflix kept quiet about numbers all weekend, which is very odd given how it provided guidance when it had the limited Thanksgiving play of Rian Johnson's Glass Onion and Knives Out Mystery, which did $15 million in its first week at 696 sites. In addition, the streamer isn't shy about proclaiming to the world its internal measurements of its shows and movies viewership. That 2-day take for K-pop Demon Hunters, which wasn't even booked at #1 chain AMC, isn't anything to be embarrassed about. In fact, the rest of the exhibition can get down on its knees and thank the Almighty as Netflix has delivered. Oh boy. The manna of extra 19. Oh my goodness. He's making God comparisons, guys. Oh, please spare me. Extra $19 million in what is the slowest weekend of the summer, now estimated at $79 million. This is also why I think it's stupid to consider August a summer month. As you all know, I have now started my 3rd week of school. I've had 2 full weeks of school already. Most people tend to go back to school before Labor Day, or at least a large portion of people go back to school before Labor Day. It's terrible to describe August as a summer month. Now, they probably still do that because, at least, again, when it comes to box office and releases, because it gives them the ability to run headlines like this, right? Worst summer box office. Blah. It's like, look, the box office is really bad right now. There's no doubt about that. But to call it even a summer month is a bit disingenuous because most people just aren't there. That's why the box office during the week has slowed down so much, because most people are back to work. Most students are back to school. But yeah, this is a big win for them. Now, the question initially that was asked was, will they likely do more? And I would say probably not. And Tony kind of hints at that, right? Look at what was mentioned. The other film that they mentioned here was Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. Why did that film get a theatrical release? I would actually say probably because of Rian Johnson. You know, he made a deal with Netflix, and I would not be surprised if part of the deal was that there was some theatrical release with his movies. And since they're obviously going to try to promote it as much as they can, probably again also in relationship to whatever deal they have with Rian Johnson, that might explain that. I think that for this one, it was like, hey, why not? Let's just put it out there, see what happens. So I don't think they were really they didn't know what to expect with this, but it is kind of surprising. I will say the one surprise and one thing I actually agree with Tony on is it is surprising that they're not running with it, right? That they're not going out of their way to say, look at all this money we're making in here with this movie that came out in June and is now making $20 million in a weekend on 2 days at, half of the screens of most modern films. It's very impressive. Very, very impressive numbers. No doubt about that whatsoever. I think that they should. I think that Netflix would be wise to put their numbers out there and to put more movies out there too, because it's just extra money that's going to come their way. Why they didn't want to work with AMC either also kind of makes me scratch my head. The only thing I could guess is that maybe AMC wanted too much of a cut. But even then, I would say, you know what? That might actually be worth it, because then you can get it out at that many more theaters, that much more raw data, that much more raw money coming in. And yeah, you might have to give a higher share to your AMC locations, but still would be a lot. Justin C. After Tron Ares, it looks like Zootopia 2 in late November and Avatar 3 are the only two films of 2025 left to make bank at the box office. I will say this much. Zootopia 2, I do think will make bank. Again, Tron Ares, I don't think is going to make bank. I don't think that we could even put that film in the same category. I really don't. But Zootopia 2, that's the one I've been saying now for a couple months, right? I think Zootopia 2 is going to be the sleeper, because Zootopia was a massive IP. People kind of forget how big and popular that movie was, especially after the fact. So I could see that being a Lilo and Stitch situation where it ends up making like $1 billion. But it also wouldn't surprise me if it doesn't, right? Because that's kind of the modern state of Disney. We'll see how the marketing is. The trailer for the first trailer that's come out isn't that impressive, I'll be honest. It doesn't have me that excited for it. So maybe that could impact it. But I would say Zootopia 2 is the next film that has a chance at $1 billion. And then Avatar is guaranteed. I'm going to say it right now. This is an easy call to make. It's kind of like when the red states and blue states start to close in and on election night, and they just call it immediately before any votes have been tallied because they just know. I'm going to call that right now for Avatar. It's making at least $1 billion at the box office. I'm just putting that out there now. It's not a very bold prediction. It's one of the safest predictions that you can make, but I would say Avatar 3, guaranteed $1 billion. Easy. Not even a bare billion, easy billion. And because it's Avatar, has a chance at $2 billion. But guaranteed at least $1 million. At least $1 billion. All right, Steven saying, so what are your thoughts on Ninja 2? That movie is close to making $2 billion at the box office. Steven, bro, shows me you're not watching the channel. Shows me that you just show up here randomly to ask questions, to get your name out there. I love you, Steven. But come on, dude. You don't watch my videos, man. So I've spoken extensively on Ninja 2. I don't believe those numbers from China. Simple as that. China has always been known for being very disingenuous with most reporting. They've been caught before lying about financial numbers. Not surprising. And it wouldn't surprise me if they're using this movie as propaganda. And a big part of that propaganda push is like, oh, this film almost made $2 billion in China alone. And it's like, yeah, according to who? According to the Chinese theaters? According to the Chinese communist-owned theaters? Now, look, I'm not saying that the film wasn't successful. I'm not saying that maybe there were a lot of people that actually went to go see it. But $2 billion? When there's like nothing else ever in the history of the country that's ever done anything similar to that, even to my knowledge? I mean, again, so my thoughts are, I haven't seen it. I've heard mixed things about it. But the numbers, I'm sorry. No. Climber Bros, what's going on? Do I plan on watching Ninja 2? Yeah, I mean, I think that it's worth giving it a shot. I think that I should at least see it, especially since I, have to talk about it often, at least these days. Kelly Chow leaving early. How dare you? How dare you? Jimmy A. There have been reports of two actors fighting on set of Doomsday. Some claim it's Robert Downey Jr. and Ryan Reynolds. Would surprise me. Would not surprise me. Steven, going off on rants again. We need to study more of Ninja 2. That movie needs to be studied. We all slept on it. This movie is now this. Bro, no. Steven, you're buying the Chinese propaganda, Steven. Steven says, I feel like anime. It's not anime. It's a Chinese movie. Anime is from Japan. I do think that, yeah, anime is now taking over superhero sci-fi box office to an extent. There are limits to it. Again, you look at Demon Hunter. That's an example of a huge success. But if you look at Demon Hunter in like the United States, for the kind of movie that it is, it's doing well. But it's not claiming even there to make $2 billion. Like, here is the biggest thing, right? The argument that people try to make, and there's someone who on Discord has just been like simping nonstop for the Chinese Communist Party, and it's kind of disgusting. But the argument that they tried to make was, well, China has 1 billion people, so, I mean, it's not like it's impossible that it could not get to $2 billion. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, so with that logic, because we have 350 million people, give or so, here in the United States, every movie in the United States should make $350 million every time, right? Or we should have at least several $350 million films, right? If that's the logic that we're going to use. But no, that's not how that happens. That's not how the world actually works. So the only people that we have reporting $2 billion are Chinese-owned theaters. That means communist-owned theaters. So again, I'm not saying it's not popular in China. I'm not saying that maybe it made some money. But $2 billion, I'm sorry. At least when it comes to Hollywood, because people usually say, well, how do you trust Hollywood numbers? Like, well, at least for them, they do have this thing called financial disclosures, where they do have to disclose spending and other things. So there is at least some way of being able to track some of it. We don't get all the details, unfortunately, because the laws don't make them itemize every single thing. So we can't know exactly how much we spent on an X movie or how much profit, etc., unfortunately. But we'd at least get numbers, right? We at least get data that is mostly trustworthy. And again, I do say mostly because, again, yes, absolutely. Can you see cheating happen? People going behind the law? For sure. But you know who doesn't have financial disclosures? And you know who definitely cannot be trusted? The Chinese Communist Party. Bro, come on. You're better than that. You're better than that, Steven. Forever Sci-Fi, Channing Tatum is better as a side character like in Free Guy or Deadpool Wolverine. Yeah, agreed. Justin Z, would you be surprised if Doomsday ends up having a production budget over $1 billion? Feels like a real possibility to me. I would not be surprised if the two films, because remember, a lot of that stuff is being taken in tandem and probably being shot simultaneously. I would not be surprised if the combined total of both Avengers films, because I think it's what, Doomsday 1, Doomsday 2, I forget the names of them, but those two movies, I wouldn't be surprised if the combined budget on both is $1 billion, which would mean your marketing for both is going to be probably close to $500+ million. So again, we're talking about both films needing to make a combined $3 billion plus to break even. Yeah, I'm sorry, that's not going to happen if those are the numbers. It sounds right to me, though. Let's see, Hardwick. Apparently, The Boys had a similar scene to the one in the latest Peacemaker. Yes, it did. Unfortunately, I know this because we were watching The Boys for homework. Oh, man. Yep. That's, again, stuff I wish I could get back in my life. But yes, it was just as disgusting in The Boys as well. Just as disgusting. The difference, though, The Boys isn't connected to a family-friendly movie that made a lot of money at the box office, according to some. So that is a big difference. Again, I will never defend that show. That show sucks, The Boys. It started off very interesting. I never liked any of the creepy sexual stuff that was even in the beginning episodes. But then it just goes off and gets worse and worse and worse and gets to be the most degenerate form of itself. But yeah, unfortunately, it does have something similar. Hardwick, I've been hearing a lot of good word of mouth about Primitive War. Me too. Apparently, a little of the CGI is iffy, but it's forgivable because of it being an indie movie. That's what I've been hearing, too. Math. That's the stuff, says King Kane Rumsky. What's going on, good sir? Wendy Hunter saying, summer doesn't hit my area until the end of July, and school starts after Labor Day. Again, most people, or at least, again, depending on where you are in the country, a large portion of people start school before Labor Day. A large portion of the country, maybe even a majority, I would have to look at the numbers, start after Labor Day, colleges especially. But yeah, again, seasons wise, you can talk about but the season of summer lasts until this time, and then the season of fall starts at this time. Sure. But when they say summer box office, it's like, I'm sorry. It's like the summer box office in June and July. And also I would say midway through May is nothing compared to August. August is so clearly something different. So that's why there has to at least be some separation in some way. Steven saying, that is saying something with DCU and MCU to lose box office to a Netflix original that was released on streaming back in February and had very limited theater releases. Imagine if open to all. But again, Netflix released that back in June, not February. If we're still talking about Demon Hunter, K-pop Demon Hunter. And again, $20 million is very impressive, but we really can't make the comparison there because the opening weekends of the MCU DCU films were much bigger. So I don't know exactly the argument that you're trying to make there, but it's very impressive. Seb Oathbreaker, what's going on? King and Rumsky saying, maybe they call August a summer month because August is between June 21st and September 21st. I do appreciate that. As I said, if we're talking about the season, I get that. It's more of, again, the fact that clearly, if we're talking about it as a movie season, it's just not right to call it summer box office because then you're comparing a weekend in June to a weekend in August. And anyone who pays attention to this stuff knows those two things are not compatible, right? You can compare a weekend in June to July. Those are compatible. You can compare the last weekend of May to a weekend in even June and July, and those are comparable. You can't do the same thing with August. Gary Bandos there with the word saying, love Korean films and shows, hate Korean K-pop tune film. Not for me. Lower than 50% for sure. Dang, Gary. When he's putting something below 50%, you know he's serious. Because he loves giving shows anything at 50% just to make me go crazy. But yeah, that's the other thing too, right? It's actually not anime that's doing well right now because it's not anime. It's from Korea. Hosatako, what's going on? Tag to say, from what I read, Netflix paid for the production after Sony declined the pitch from Sony Animation. Oof. Michael Burgett saying, I think a reason Netflix doesn't want to promote their numbers is it makes them look bad that they don't release more films theatrically. I would say probably not because here's the thing. Netflix is so successful, they probably just do not care. Why would they care if it makes them look bad? Because again, is it really going to make them look all that bad? Because I guess you could say, oh, but it shows how much money. I guess, did you mean it in this way, Mabel Michael, that like for their investors, from a financial standpoint, it makes them look bad because they're throwing away free money, essentially? I guess that could be, that I could see as an argument, right? Of saying, okay, maybe they're holding it close to the chest because they don't want to show just how stupid they've been to not release more of their movies theatrically. And when you had something like a, Glass Onion or something, it wasn't nearly as prominent in that case. Maybe. Geek64, had to say, Turtles 1 4K is from the original 35mm, while the other two movies are listed as 35mm inter-positives. Still could be good, but generally not as clean as OCN. Depends if you like film grain. Nice. I knew you were the right person to ask on that one. Check out Geek364, especially if you love physical media. He's your guy. The new Zootopia trailer looks better, okay? Xvoot saying, do you think Five Nights at Freddy's 2 will outperform the first? I don't think it's going to outperform the first. I think the first was kind of like this magic in a bottle situation, and I don't know if the second one's going to really able to like build on it. I don't think it's going to be as like, I don't think it's going to be a Megan 2.0 situation where like Megan 2.0 flopped. The Bad Guys 2 didn't match anything with the original. I don't think it's going to be that bad as far as a comparison. I also just don't think it's going to be... It depends on whether the film is good, I guess. If it does a lot of the same things the first movie did, which is have a bunch of references to the games that people can enjoy, then maybe you'll have that. Gary Banjo Sandwich saying, Avatar 3, not another sequel syndrome kicking in. I mean, yeah, that's the thing, is even though I've already said it's going to make $1 billion guaranteed, it's going to still be less than the last movie. Yeah, because they are, over time, just losing audience. Kalikioki, what's going on, good sir? Saying, that's what I'm saying, Odin. Ninja 2, the numbers don't make sense. They don't. Like, you would have to have seen, like, a pattern of behavior. And you just look at that, you say, it's like looking at a bunch of financial information for a company, and then it's a company that like performs at like, let's say, $200 million every single year. And then all of a sudden there's a year where there's like a $5 billion reporting, and you're just like, wait a minute. That does not compute. That does not make sense. I feel like someone needs to look at their books. An honest third party. Because the best, again, argument that I've heard is, well, there's third-party sites that are reporting those numbers. It's like, yeah, but they're reporting the numbers that have been given to them by the Chinese communist-owned theaters. So it's not like someone's like gone behind the veil of China and actually looked at the data. Man. River Sci-Fi, all that Ninja 2 money is probably coming from the pregnant robot China is making. Very well, could be the case. Yeah, again, and this is not, and that's the thing too, like, don't take my criticism or my very large speculation, like just distrust of the Chinese media and the Chinese reporting as being any indication of whether the film is good or not. I've not seen the film, so I can't say the film is good or not. I've actually heard mixed things about it. I've heard mostly positive, actually. But, yeah. Can't force people to go to the theater? Yeah. Sacre Bleu. Speaking of China, do you think China will air their boy John Cena's latest Peacemaker outing? I highly doubt it because of this stuff. Frank G saying China also reported only 5,000 deaths from COVID, while the USA reported 1.2 million deaths. That's why I don't believe Ninja 2 box office. That's a very good comparison, man. It's a very good point. We should not trust really anything that ever comes out of China. Wendy Hunter, I can completely agree with you on The Boys. I stopped watching the show. Good on you. Steven, do you think other countries think like the way we do with Ninja 2, for example, that we made up box office numbers like Titanic? No. Steven, please stop trying to justify the Chinese Communist Party's talking points, because that's what you are doing right now by trying to say, do you think other countries think the same way about us that we do about China? It's like, no. In fact, I bet those same countries also have a lot of questions about China's reporting. That's how crazy those numbers that they're reporting are. And again, we have something called financial disclosures. So they can look into that data. They can look into that and request it. Like, oh, let's look at it. Hardwick, James Gunn said that John Cena came up with a bunch of ad-libs on the set of The Suicide Squad that Gunn he didn't include in the movie because even he found them too disgusting. Hardwick, I'm going to be honest, dude, and maybe I think you could appreciate this. I think James Gunn's lying. And it's not because that John Cena would never do that. It's because when James Gunn said he finds them too disgusting, I think that's him lying. I think that's him trying to give a line to an interviewer. To make it to make like a joke and to make, because this is what he does, right? He's notorious now. James Gunn has been notorious for lying about so many things. So yeah. Steven, I'm curious as to why you think China is lying when it comes to box office numbers. Do you think we will see more of... Bro, have you not been listening to like the last like 20 minutes? Steven, man, please, if you're going to ask questions, please like have listened to everything else I've mentioned. Dude. Come on, man. Again, if we are honestly going to be taking the Chinese Communist Party at their word on anything, that's where you got to start first. It's not like these are just a bunch of honest everyday folk coming out saying, "Oh, our movie made this money. Isn't that great?" Again, this has become something that they've been using literally as propaganda. I'm not saying the movie's propaganda, but them using that 2 billion figure absolutely is. But again, you are having now to make the assumption that the Chinese Communist Party is being accurate in the reporting of the numbers of their own movie, that everywhere else has not done anything in comparison, especially. Again, you have to take a lot of leaps to say that these numbers are legitimate. You have to take a crap ton of leaps to get anywhere close to that. Because let me see if I can even pull this up, okay? Just let's get some perspective on this, okay? Just realize how much of a leap. Because you could say, oh, but it's a cultural phenomenon for them. It's like, okay, look at any other country and please point to a similar example. Because even massive IPs in Japan have never done those kinds of numbers, ever. Oh, but they don't have as many people. I mentioned this before. Population size does not dictate your box office. India has 1 billion people. Bollywood never makes it like into the discussion about massive box office. Oh, because they're poor. Let's talk then about China's slave labor. Okay, so are we just going to ignore that part? It doesn't work. So, okay, first off, in China, they say they had a $300 million opening weekend for Ninja 2. That has made $1.9 billion. Let's look at every other country. 4.8 million in Australia, 7.1 million in Hong Kong, 6.8 million. Hong Kong, again, if we're talking about cultural phenomenons here, it only has made $7.1 million in Hong Kong. But everywhere else in China, it's made $1.9 billion. 6.8 million in Malaysia, 1.5 million in New Zealand, 716,000 in Russia, 4 million in Singapore, 369,000 in Spain, $17,000 in Turkey, and 1.5 million in the United Kingdom. Yeah, I'm sorry. Just the laws of basic deduction and reasoning are all that I need to say, yeah, I'm sorry. Steven, do you think we will see Netflix having their own theater chain and release films exclusively for their originals due to Demon Hunter's success? Wait, what? Oh, K-pop Demon Hunter. You have to be very clear, Steven, because Demon Hunter is a separate entity. K-pop Demon Hunters is not connected with Demon Hunters. They actually is a very important distinction. So no, they're not going to launch their own theaters. Why would they? Why would they waste the money? That would be a waste of money on their part. Steven, what do you plan to be for Halloween this year? My son has been on a Pokemon kick recently, so right now the plan, this could obviously change because he's almost 5, and that's just the mind of a almost 5-year-old, is that my wife and I are going to be Jesse and James from Team Rocket. Our son is going to be Meowth, and then our daughter is going to be Pikachu. And the whole thing is because we're going to capture and steal Pikachu. So, if it works out, it could be cute. Jimmy A, they need to make a parody of Avatar called Not Another Avatar Movie, please. King and Rumsky, do you think James Gunn is a perv/creep? Absolutely. Again, the fact that he thought it was totally fine to make jokes dealing with kids, that was already enough for me to see that. Add on top of that everything with Peacemaker, and yeah, it gets that much worse. Seb Oathbreaker, I feel like Gunn is tarnishing what DC should be about, iconic heroes representing the best of humanity. Yeah, you would think that, right? Because on the one hand, it's like, oh, Superman, like, oh man, people are so excited, so happy to defend it. And then you get to Peacemaker, and a lot of the same people are still defending it. It's like, how? They're completely incompatible with each other. It's one thing if you had an established universe, and so now you're like, okay, let's branch out and do some other things. Even then, it would still not justify the crap that's in the show. But at least having like a hard R type show, maybe with a lot more violence, would at least be understandable. But when you're like trying to rebuild, and you get Superman, which is, again, maybe a double at best. I think that's being charitable. And then your next thing after that is gratuitous nonsense, moral depravity, disgusting, garbage. Yeah, I'm sorry. There's issues with that. Andrew Hayes, hello. What's going on? Xvoot saying, do you follow the video game world at all? Not really. If so, what are your thoughts on the insane revenue projections for Grand Theft Auto 6? I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. All I know is that Grand Theft Auto 5 was huge. That's a huge IP. This thing has been years in the making. It wouldn't surprise me. Steven, what are your thoughts on Snoop Dogg's backlash he's getting going viral right now due to Lightyear having lesbian mom kissing and saying we don't need to see that in kids' movie? I have not seen that because I don't really follow social media. I really don't live on social media. Manpreet Singh saying, sounds like they are doing some money laundering. Yeah, or they're just lying on their numbers, right? I mean, that's the other thing too. Willow. Sorry. My dog Willow is licking herself, and she should not be doing that. But yeah, money laundering or just lying straight up about their numbers. Again, China has no actual arm to hold them accountable. Again, we at least in our country, and again, clearly, I have a lot of issues with Hollywood. I don't trust a lot of the things that again, the budgets that they report, clearly, a lot of them are fake. A lot of them are not real. But still, at the end of the day, they have to make financial disclosures about amount of money spent and amount of money made. They just don't have to. They're not forced by law to itemize every single thing. They can just be very broad with it. But again, at least there's that. China doesn't have to do that. None of the Chinese-owned companies had to do that. So again, because of that alone, that gives me a heck of a lot more reasons to trust reporting and numbers coming out of Hollywood over the Chinese Communist Party by 1,000-fold. Because at least there's some accountability. Not a lot, but at least some. Geek64 saying, just need to say Fan 4 is greater than Superman, says Geek Truth, but it does depend on what kind of movie you're looking for. And I would argue that they're both decent. Like, I would say they're both mediocre at best. Like, Fantastic Four compared to the best of the MCU is garbage in comparison. Superman compared to the best of the DC movies that have ever been made also is garbage, right? So I would say most people would probably argue that, like, DC Comics movies, I guess we could say more accurately. So, like, since the DC EU has been just a mess from the beginning, because some people are going to try to compare it to Man of Steel. And again, I think that the movies are all so flawed. I'm like, I don't even care about that comparison because I don't really like either movie all that much. But you put this up against OG Superman, I'm sorry. This movie's garbage in comparison to OG Superman. You put this up against The Dark Knight or Batman Begins, garbage in comparison. In the same way, Fantastic Four, the first steps, garbage in comparison to the first Iron Man, garbage in comparison to the first Thor, garbage in comparison to pretty much the entire phase 1, right, of the MCU. So yeah, even though we could say, oh yeah, they're fine, they're the best thing that's been out recently, if we actually put them in the context of the rest of the world and the universe that they are both equally in, neither of them hold up very well. It reminds me a lot of when people were defending Captain Marvel, right? I remember the reviews and people were simping for that movie saying, oh, this is like one of the best things ever. And then when they actually had to put their list of favorite movies, almost every one of them put Captain Marvel in like the middle to lower ends of their list. So they said, oh, such an amazing movie, the best thing since X. And yet when they were actually having to be honest for once, they were like, oh, it actually wasn't all that great. Kaliki Oki, hail to you. Again, just tag at Odin if you want me to read your comment or highlight it. Art K, what's going on? Welcome. Let's see. Yeah, it was garbage, Art K. Agreed. Forever Sci-Fi, who is a member here on the channel, saying the CCP tried to claim their ships didn't collide on their own until the Filipinos came out with the video. I wouldn't trust them to tell me the weather. Exactly. Hardwick says, Gunn's exact quote, Peacemaker is sort of omnisexual, right? He loves everybody. He wants to have sex with everybody so that where Cena went at the end of every scene, and it was always disgusting and always hilarious, but none of it's in the movie because it was just too disgusting for even me, and that's saying a lot. And again, I do think, I still stand by what I said. I still stand by that James Gunn, I think, is lying. I don't think it's too much for him. After seeing that scene in that show, no, it's not too much for him. I think that honestly, he is just saying that line to give us so that he has a story to tell. That's honestly what I think he's saying. See, Justin C saying Matt Reeves' Batman sequel should be titled Batman 2. Hey guys, hey guys, it'll do $1 billion. He wishes. Again, I know some people like the first Batman. The Batman, oh man, something else that comes up almost every stream it seems these days, right? The Batman was great in the first like 10, 15 minutes. Fine in most of what followed it. And then just becomes downright garbage from, hey guys. Now, Justin C., if you meant it in that way of, hey guys, it'll do $1 billion. That would be the case. If that's how you meant it, because I read that as, hey guys, it'll do $1 billion. But if you meant it as Batman 2, hey guys, then yes, I would absolutely agree with you, Justin C. That would be like printing money. And like, that's all the marketing that you need. That's all the marketing that you need. It's just Riddler. In fact, I would actually add to that. I would say have Riddler doing, hey guys, and then have him just slip right into the, oh, Maria, because that's like the most iconic parts of your movie. Let's see. Yes. Gigan Rumsky. Do you think Steven will drive you to drink? Maybe some water. Luckily, there is nothing that I could conceive of that would ever drive me to actually drink. Because I've been always honest about this, right? I'm, been straight edge for, officially since I was 21. I mean, I was straight edge even before then. But my 21st birthday is the last time I had any sip of alcohol. And so, yeah, I can say I've never been drunk, though. Never been drunk in my entire life. The only thing I can think of as like any feeling or emotion was the closest maybe to anything was buzzed at most. And it was, I'll share this with y'all, when I was in college and it was my first semester. So again, still never got drunk, but we went to little, appropriate to what, like, it's like we went to Little China in New York and they had sake. And so it was like my roommates and I was like trying to get to know them and I was like trying to fit in at that time in my life. Let's just say it didn't work out very well. I very quickly was like, I don't like these people at all in my life because they are just too crazy to me politically, socially, everything. And so I had half of a sake bomb. That was like the most alcohol I think I ever consumed was half of a sake bomb because I couldn't finish the rest of it. And so I think I got buzzed off of that. Maybe. That's like the furthest that I've ever been there. I've never been drunk in my entire life. Happy to stay that way. And yeah, since my 21st birthday, happy to have never had another sip of alcohol. Serves no purpose in my life. I mean, just a waste of money. Jeremy Zakowski, Team Odin is blasting off again. Bing! Yes. I understood that reference. Oh, Demon Slayer, Demon Hunter. I always just, again, in my head, they are very similar. They are similar enough. Jose Taco, Steven, leave some questions for the rest of us. Yeah, dude. Come on, man. Come on, man. Oh, now you're going to be James from Team Rocket with no hair. It's called a wig, Kalikioki. It's called a wig, man. They make those types of things, don't they? Michael Baguette. Right now, there's 13 films that made $100 million domestically. How many more films this year do you think passed that mark? Oh, gosh. I think there's a chance for a film like Tron Ares to do that. Again, I can't go through that list again for time. So I'm going to go out there and say between 5 and 10. Between 5 and 10 because... and I include films that come out this year and carry over into 2026, okay? So I think Avatar does that. Zootopia 2 does that for sure. Those are the two I can say guarantee make over $100 million domestically. Other than that, it's a crapshoot. So maybe between 5 and 10, maybe. And again, I'm just throwing a number out there. Hardwick, James Gunn does his best work when there's someone to rein him in. He had that at he had that at Marvel, but now he's in charge at DC. There's no common sense gun control. Yeah. Hardwick always comes in with some like just very long statements, always with a lot of information in them. That's why I do appreciate them. Hardwick, I like to always say, is like kind of like my nemesis at times. But then he randomly will come in with a comment that just gets me off guard. And it's just like, I have to applaud. So yes, no common sense gun control at DC. Agreed. And they desperately need it. They desperately need some gun control at DC. Because he's off the rails. Andrew Hayes, do you think Avatar 3 will hit $2 billion this winter? There's definitely a chance. Let me pull up some numbers real quick because I'm as you all know, I try to be as historically minded as I can. This is also to my own detriment, right? This is why one of the reasons why I failed to predict the Super Mario movie would make $1 billion, because historically there was no reason that it would, based off of the data available at the time. Obviously, that's not the case. So yeah, the first Avatar film made $2.9 billion. Again, these are unadjusted numbers there. That's close to about what? $3.54 billion today, maybe. So you go from, let's say, $3.5 billion. 2022, it made $2.3 billion. Even if you just compare the raw numbers, that's still $600 million less than the previous movie. So if that trend continues, then actually what I would argue is that there is a better chance the film doesn't make $2 billion than it does. If that trend line continues. Again, that's of course a big if. Obviously, I hope that trend line continues, because then eventually, by the time we get to Avatar 5 in 2031, think about that for a second. Yes, we're getting an Avatar 5 in 2031. Then it might actually be under $1 billion at that point. That would be great. That would make me happy. But still way too early. Still way too early. Jimmy A saying, Snoop Dogg says he took his grandson to see Lightyear and was not ready to answer lesbian questions with him. He said he's scared to take his grandkids to the movies now. Did he say that recently? That's such a random thing to, like, Lightyear is still being shown in theaters? Is that what's being said? Or is this like an old thing that happened? But yeah, agreed. Steven, Superman just crossed $600 million. Is this considered a success for the DCU? Steven, once again, you don't watch my videos. Steven, where the heck are you, man? I feel like the whole chat now is just going to turn on Steven. Steven, what's going on, dude? Where you been? As I mentioned, even during this stream, it has still not made its money back. So I would say they might consider it a success because they are going to be looking at VOD sales and future 4K sales. So they're probably seeing profits there. But theatrically, it's not made its money back. Xboot, what is your favorite large movie studio? Oh, boy. Ugh. Each one's loaded in different ways as far as like a choice is concerned. Could say, I obviously am not going to choose Disney. I'm also obviously not going to choose Warner Brothers. Paramount's hit and miss. Sony's hit and miss. Lionsgate's been on a downward trend recently. Man, I guess Sony, but not happily. I'm not choosing that one happily. So I guess I would choose none of the above, but if I had to. Steven, your thoughts on Peacemaker changes Justice League scene with Justice Gang? Do you think this confused fans are right track for DCU? I mean, I got to that point and I thought to myself, okay, great. So now you're just retconning your own stuff. And you could say, oh, but they have to because of the DCU no longer being there. It's like, yeah, but you're also just randomly retconning it for no reason. Not to mention the whole like extra, like the whole interdimensional stuff is really stupid. Because like in the first season of the show, the only thing they really established about his like special closet is that it's like the TARDIS kind of, where it's like bigger on the inside. I don't remember them establishing that it's like multiple worlds that you get access to. Not to mention, that also now means that his dad is somehow smart enough to do that. That again, it's a stupid show. It's so stupid. Q64 saying, don't completely disagree, Odin. I would put Fantastic Four in upper mid-tier in my MCU ranking. I like how you still say the mid-tier. Upper mid-tier. I love you, man. Geek364 saying, I'm currently drinking. Steven is not responsible. Gary Badger Sandwich, dude. Congratulations, man. 6 months. That's awesome. Justin C. Yes, Batman 2. Hey, guys. Paul Dano should voice the trailer. Okay, yes. Okay. I'm glad that I picked that up after the fact and didn't just leave you being oh, that's so stupid. Because, yeah, shout out to you, Justin C. That would make $1 billion. Absolutely. Yeah, and then have him doing the Ave Maria. Steven, I sense a disturbance in Kincaid Rumsky. Kincaid Rumsky is the man. Steve saying, sorry for asking a lot of questions, just in my nature right now, since I'm back in college. I'm a curious guy. I always love, that's just his go-to. It's I'm a college guy. Did I mention I'm in college? I got lots of questions because I'm in college. I love you, Steven. Wait a minute. Do I still have this one? Let me see. Where is it? Oh, I don't have it? Man. Is it this one that I have? What's this? What's this? Can I play this? Can I play this? No, I cannot play this. No, I cannot play this. No, I cannot play this. Oh, I don't have the story. I used to have the story. That was a good one. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm really, really sorry. Geek4, looking at the MCU movie list, I would put Fantastic Four at 16 out of 36. Dang, I would actually say that's top tier, close to top tier. Hold on. Seb Oathbreaker. When I was younger, I was drinking less. I just had to see it because it said he mentioned FNT, which is weird. I drink more now in my 40s. Bear in mind, I only do when I watch FNT. Oh no, that just makes me sad. I'm sorry that we drive you to drinking, man. I know the crosstalk can be a lot, man, but come on. M Tax Shark, bro, where you been? M Tax Shark. Hey, hello, Reese. Yes, Avatar makes money, but really, why? Agreed. I don't get it. Andrew Hayes. After Use Avatar 5 will be released in 2031, I had it imagined in my mind of James Cameron on the red carpet with a walker as he slowly made his way to the theater. Isn't it sad that James Cameron, who could have been creating some really cool stuff, decided to end his career in Avatar land, basically, right? In Pandora. It's such a waste. Michael Brigette, I would have thought you would pick Universal for a large movie studio. Oh, gosh. You know what? Totally slipped my mind. Now that you mention it, I would pick Universal. And it's not even because of the movie studio. It's because of the parks. I've always liked Universal Parks. Heartbreak Ridge, what's going on? Andrew Hayes, Steven is an AI bot from China. From China. I'm starting to believe that. I'm starting to think that. Xvoot saying, best Batman actor, I have to go with Christian Bale and Michael Keaton as a close second. How about you? Ooh, for actor, if we're going all-around actor, I'm going to say, oh my goodness. What is it? I have to see my list. Because there's always ones that you forget about. But all around, probably Kevin Conroy. Batman animated series, that's always one that's a top of my list, Batman. And I'm going to say that's my final answer on that one, too. And don't go around and say, oh, I meant live action. No. Kevin Conroy. That was my Batman growing up because I grew up with the animated series. So even more so than the 89 Batman, even more so than Dark Knight, that was my Batman. Steven, you know what in campus they sell drinks and I'm going to grab a beer in honor of Odin Tolerance with me and chat too. Don't do it, Steven. You're better than this. You're better than this. Geek64 saying, I'm drinking, editing a video, and watching your stream. I multitask better at night. There you go, man. Yeah, I'm weird. I like to, there are certain things that I can do better at night too, but I also am I'm an early morning person. Early morning person. I don't know why I couldn't say that. I get up at 5:15, 5:30 every day. So I have time for prayer, for anything I might have to do work-wise. On Fridays, I also have time to do my box office preview video. That's usually when I can function. But yeah, nighttime is also one where I'm probably more high functioning than anything else. Thanatos Vizdas, Adam West and Kevin Conroy were my Batman. Yeah, Adam West is great. He's just, but it's such a different version of Batman, right? It's clearly just a comedic version. It's great. It's phenomenal. It's hilarious. But yeah, there's definitely like a difference in tone for sure. The Morak, who is a member, saying, I grew up with Adam West Batman. He's my Batman. Nice. Adam West, Michael Keaton. Yeah, I love, of the live action ones, I'd probably go Michael Keaton too, as far as the better of the ones. I also would say, even though the movies aren't great, I do like Val Kilmer Batman. Again, Batman Forever is, oh my goodness, what a movie. By the way, I love Batman Forever and I love Batman and Robin. They're not great films, but they are entertaining as all get out. So Val Kilmer I've always enjoyed. Because I grew up with Batman Forever as far as like a Batman movie. That was the big movie when I was growing up. I still would not say it's good. But you know what? Without Batman Forever, we wouldn't have one of my favorite movie lines of all time. Oh no, it's boiling acid. Oh, I love that line so much. There's always some things where it's like, I gotta have it, right? With the Batman, hey guys, is the line I have to have. For Batman Forever, oh no, it's boiling acid. Love that line so much. EX Boot saying, I would also have thought Universal as best big movie studio. Yeah, again, slipped my mind. Forever Sci-Fi, I'm George Clooney, and I'm sorry. Riff Track summarized his Batman perfectly. Agreed. I hate worst Batman easily George Clooney. Because it's not Batman. It's just George Clooney being George Clooney. Dressed as Batman, still being George Clooney. Let's broaden our minds. Lawrence, another great line. Agreed. Is Paul Dano your favorite Riddler? By default, he kind of has to be. In reality, though, I do personally, because of my connection with the film, I do love some Jim Carrey Riddler. But yes, Paul Dano. Steven, all right, fine, no drinking. I'll find a college chick that's interested to watch OD videos with me and hopefully have it OMB. No, Steven. No. No, sir. Still better than this. King and Rumsky, what is your favorite Batman movie line quote? I think I've just mentioned a few of them. I think, oh no, it's boiling acid. It might be my favorite of all time. There's just something about that line in that movie at that time that has always gotten me. Close second might be, hey guys. There's probably a bunch of other ones. Actually, you know what? Every line that Arnold Schwarzenegger says as Mr. Freeze. What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age. Oh, so funny. Geek264. I hated that version of Riddler. Love Paul Dano, though. Yeah, again, I mean that mostly in jest. Michael Keaton for me, says Wendy Hunter for Batman. Great. Frank Gorshin, Jim Carrey. Jimmy A. All right, who wants to watch Steven? We got to keep him out of trouble. Seriously. Y'all need to keep a wellness check on Steven at this point. All right, that's going to be it for me, everybody. Just got into an hour and 30 minutes, and so we talked about a lot of things tonight. Of course, a big story is that, I'm sorry. Sorry, not sorry. Peacemaker is just a moral degenerate. We knew this already, but after the success, quotes, success of Superman and his takeover of the DCU, you thought, okay, well, maybe he's learned some lessons along the way. Maybe he's going to try to actually make Peacemaker some kind of bridge building between and of his universe. But he's now, after just one episode, made it so that it is completely unwatchable and something that I can never recommend to anyone to ever watch. And so that's why if down the line they finally come up with whatever plan they're going to have for the DCU and they at any point mention, oh yeah, you kind of should watch Peacemaker to get an idea, I'm going to remember this episode. I'm going to remember these moments and I'm going to say, no, don't do it. Don't give it your time. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your moral energy. Don't waste the goodness of your own soul, I would even say, on this show, especially on that episode. I would say maybe wait for I forget the names of the services, but there's services out there where it like can take out cursing and take out nudity and stuff like that, I would say wait for that version. But you're just going to get a very empty episode because unfortunately he just relies too much on that kind of garbage. I didn't even get to talk about how his wife, his actual real life wife, is in the show, right? She was in the first season too. And she's at one point beating up like biker guys, like these big, bulky biker guys. And like, oh, but she loses at the end. Yeah, after like a bunch of them gang up on her, only then does she get defeated. Well, she's an agent. I'm sorry. That's never worked as an argument before because she's still like this in comparison to some of these guys. And it's ridiculous to believe that she would do the things that she was doing to these guys. It's a terrible show. Xvoot, who is your favorite director still making movies? Again, I know it's not always a popular answer, especially after Dune, and I don't like what he did with Dune either. Denis Villeneuve, I do like as a director. Christopher Nolan, of course, I do like as a director. Scorsese, to me, is probably the one that... Actually, no, sorry. I do like Scorsese a lot. The one who's been the most consistent in quality, Tarantino. Tarantino, I think, has been the most consistent in quality. Steven, fine, to the library. Yes, Steven, yes. Again, you always talk about being a college student, learning things. The library is a perfect place for that. Forever Sci-Fi, good night to you. Wendy Hunter, good night, and thanks for a great stream. Thank you, Wendy Hunter. Jimmy A, good night, and God bless. You as well, Justin C, good night, and thanks for a stream. Thank you. Kimberly G, good night to you. Gage64, thank you. MTAC Shark, thanks for the great stream, my brother. Absolutely. Brother in Christ. Will Riker 94, have a great night. Steven, what movie do you think... He always, even when we're ending the show, he's like, I got to ask more questions. What movie do you think will be number one at the box office this upcoming weekend? I don't know. I haven't even done my box office preview video yet. I don't even know what movies are coming out this weekend. I read the list earlier, and most of them are unforgettable. So, who knows? Maybe Weapons. Maybe Weapons ends up number one at the box office again. I'll know for sure once I actually sit down and look at some of the projections that they're coming in. Whitefall, thanks for streaming. Have a great night. You too. Gary Bedjo Sandwich, having a good night. Hardwick, she loses because she chooses to love. Sorry. She loses because she chooses to lose. That's right. Heartbreak. You're even... Honestly, at that point, I was so checked out of it, I wasn't really even paying attention. But actually, you're right. It's like she chooses to because she wants to experience the pain. Oh, my goodness. Hardwick, there's a Discord server devoted to fan edits to make movies more family-friendly. There are some 100% seamless PG-13 edits of the first two Deadpool movies. No bleeper. Ooh, nice. Mr. Roy, have a good night. Geek Truth, I liked David Fincher for a while, not so much recently. Yeah, I definitely think I can agree with that sentiment for sure. All right, that's going to be it for me, everybody. So thank you all very much for watching. Make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you also smash the rumble button as well. You guys have been amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Tonight today is actually the feast of Saint Louis the Ninth, King of France. So Saint Louis the Ninth, pray for us. And crazy that we're entering into the final days of August already, and that it's going to be Labor Day this upcoming weekend. So I'll see some of y'all for the box office preview video Friday morning. Some of y'all I'll see Friday night for Friday Night Tights, Friday afternoon really for Friday Night Tights, and then of course the Salty Saturday stream on Saturday. See some of y'all there as well. Again, you guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful rest of your evening, and as always, God bless. And now for a huge special shout out to all of my Chosen of Valhalla members, starting off first with my people on Patreon, Father Luca Illick and Miss Martin Muses. Check out her YouTube channel by the same name, Miss Martin Muses. Also to my Subscribe Star people, Matt317. Check out his Twitch channel by the same name, Matt317. And lastly to my YouTube member, Mr. Roy. shout out to you, good sir. And if you want your name shouted out at the end of every live stream and video, check out the top link in the video description below where you get access to that. Also, you get access to a plethora of other things. You get your name listed at the end of every live stream and video, like you saw in those names that came up before this video started, and also access to a giveaways channel that I host over on the Discord server where I give away 4Ks, Steelbooks, Blu-rays, all kinds of stuff. So check that out if you're interested in that. Also, I have an exclusive podcast that I hold at least once a month, and it's always a good time, and you get extra bonus content with that also. So if any of that sounds interesting, again, check out that top link in the video description below. You guys are all amazing, and beautiful people. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and as always, God bless.